Warning: the following podcast contains violent scenes that may be unsettling to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to the Brian Diaries, where my pals and I get together and talk about subjects dealing with our favorite tabletop role-playing setting, the World of Darkness. While we may not be subject matter experts on the game lines, we have a passion that has led us to create and share actual plays with you all. Eventually we thought, well shit, we might as well take a stab at a podcast, and here you go. Each episode we will have a guest content creator to join us to talk about whatever subject is on the table. If you would like to contact us, you can reach out to us on Twitter at twin_cities_VTM or on Facebook at Twin Cities by Night. So here we go. I hope you enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Brian Diaries, a podcast where we drink copious amounts of cold brew and hail Satan while listening to Black Sabbath. Thank you for joining us again. What is up, Andrew?
No coffee for me today.
No coffee? What is going on, man?
Oh, just, I decided it was one of those days where when I woke up, I grabbed this big bottle of whiskey that I have, and I poured some into a cup, and then I got some Pepsi here, kind of just starting off strong. Yeah.
I guess it's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world, right? Isn't that what it said? So did you put away your black robes? Is that why you're kind of tripping over yourself the whole time when we're doing our like black mass before the Brian Diaries? Is that why you're kind of just stumbling around? You can be honest. I mean, we learn.
I think that of all of us, I'm probably the only one who actually has a large black robe.
And on that note, all right, let's introduce our guest for today. What is up? Today's guest has history with us for about 2.5 years, seeing the fact that he has been part of Twin Cities by Night for 2.5 years. This is a gentleman. If you have had this patience of a saint to go back and listen to the first session of Twin Cities by Night, the complete unedited one, where I fucked up his name for like 5 minutes straight out of nerves and the fact that I fuck up names, you would fucking know who this gentleman is. Joaquin, what is up, brother? How goes it? Tell us a little bit about tell us a little bit about yourself. And by the way, take off the hood of your black robe, please, so people, wait, it's a podcast, they can't see your face. Never mind. Go ahead. So tell us about yourself.
Oh, dang it! I told you, don't mention that in public.
It's a secret cabal. secret.
Okay, yes, I have been part of the Twin Cities by Night group since the very beginning. I've been Kai Tao in Twin Cities by Night, Jasper in Juarez on Fire, and then I ran my own Victorian Age vampire game, Diluted.
Yeah, man, you've been there since day one, man. You're a day one homie. I remember like setting out invitations for people to play in a game that wanted to run online, and you're one of the first people to do it, man. And you've been here and you're continuing to go strong, huh?
Yep. I remember all those years ago seeing that invitation in my dorm room, just being like, well, let's see, try this. I got nothing else to do with this.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, fuck, dude. Like,
he's obviously regretting it.
Well, dude, he is now a member of a secret black mass cabal where he gets government influence and power, and he's able to cover up crimes. So I think there's a pro to it, right? You would say, Joaquin, there's a little pro here.
It about evens out.
I mean, you do have to talk to me in Discord a lot and deal with all my rants on there. So I totally get where it's like, world power and domination and Chris typing too much with this horrible typing. I get that. So why don't you tell us a little bit, man, about what your future, I mean, there's a lot going on and future games you're going to play, but talking about you as more as a ST, what's your future contributions for Twin Cities by Night looking like here in the future?
All right. So we're still figuring out just when exactly this would be going on, and I must admit that right now it's still more of a frame than an actual storyline, but I am planning the next arc of the story started in Victorian Age Vampire Diluted. The next one is tentatively titled Rot, and it will resume the story where we last left off 6 months after the events of Diluted, in the middle of the summer during a cholera outbreak in London, England.
It is insane, and it was funny because our last Brian Diaries we interviewed Clara, a freelance writer for Onyx Path Publishing, and I mentioned I was talking about your game, and I said, to be honest, before playing Diluted, I'm not like a big Victorian Age steampunk, whatever, just doesn't pull me in. And dude, she almost slit my throat through like the intrawebs. The Victorian era shit, for whatever reason, has such a huge fan base, and I don't know, like if Andrew
don't
could
recall
explain
this.
it. I don't know. You
This
don't
part
remember?
of it.
She got like I said something to the extent of, and I wasn't really a big fan of of Victorian stuff before I played Diluted, and she was just like, what did she say? It was just so bone chilling. I'm like, oh, now I know why you write for the World of Darkness. You know what I mean? It just made me stop in my tracks. Now, if she's listening, I'm sure I probably remember.
Of course, you remember this, but I don't because it wasn't directed at me.
If
She
someone,
blocked out your memory.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and I'm really excited for it. I had a blast playing in it. Andrew played in that, and Mitch, the man of many voices, and Slavic played in it, and it's just like I'm pretty stoked, man. Like, so that it's cool to have you on here, because one of the reasons why I really enjoyed playing in Diluted was I felt like I was in the area of 19th century London, and I am like absolutely not familiar with it at all. Not saying, I mean, I have a passing familiarity with it, but so we're invited Quinn here to come and talk about running games in historical settings. So that's what we're going to talk about after our first break. So stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and talk about running settings and running World of Darkness games in historical settings. So stay tuned.
Hello, folks. Have you ever wished you could have an easy way to find gameplay videos and podcasts, or just media in general that deals with your favorite White Wolf role-playing games? Or have you ever wished you could find a forum to share gameplay that you have recorded, one which wouldn't be drowned out by random posts and discussion, so that your media could get the attention you want? Well, we have the answer for you in a Facebook group we run called White Wolf RPGs Gameplay and Media. The group is specifically ran with the sole intent of it being a one-stop shop for people to view or share media involving the games we all love. We take thorough steps to ensure the page does not become cluttered and is easy to traverse. We are currently over 1,000 members strong, and we are continuing to rapidly grow with new media being shared every day. Stop on by. We hope to see you there.
All right, everybody, welcome back, and let's just jump right into the topic for today. We're going to be talking about running games set in a historical time period. And one of our very first questions that we have is just kind of what are the pros and cons to running a chronicle that is focused in a historical setting?
Okay, so well, first of all, one of the big pros is that when you decide to do like anything historical, is that it's much. I feel is that it's a lot easier to come up with a setting, a story, and characters for it if you have ever have an idea of what you want of like what time period you want your story to be set in. Say, for example, you want to have a story set in Victorian England. You already have a setting there, Victorian England, baked into it. And then basically you can have a story. Basically look throughout the history of the city of England, or look throughout. You could look through like historical documents or whatever, just to see like, oh, so this happened, this happened, this happened. So I can make a story based around this or that. And then for characters, you can just, if you want to, go into like deeper research. You can really like, yeah, these people were there, these people were there. I can have this person here, that person there. It's all, and basically it's you have sort of like it's just so easy to have an expectation. Sort of leads into the cons of just like people have this idea of what it should look like, and if you run too much into that idea, I suppose it's somewhat easy to fall into the trap of just making cliches out of things.
So would you say that running a historical game it provides you with a certain amount of structure,
Yes,
but that can also set up false expectations for players?
exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's
Okay.
perfectly yes. Like for example, like example, if you decide to do it in England again, there is this idea that you have to do it a certain way. Say it like you're doing it on this like street level, you'd be like all of a twist. Then there's certain cliches that they're like these gangs, dirty children running around that steal stuff or be charming to you. There's like certain ideas that are baked into it, And so, depending upon what kind of game you want, that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing to it.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed when you were running the Victorian game for us was the fact that you really, I mean, you had some NPCs that were from like the London by Night Victorian Age vampire setting, but a lot of that story that you did, I felt, and I'm sure Andrew can attest, I don't know if he agrees with me, but I felt was you relied more on historical London from that era than you did the mythos and the canon that was kind of like already kind of created. Now, mind you, you used some NPCs
Yes,
that
I used
existed.
more. I did use a couple of NPCs, and I did use like more names than I did the actual characters that were in the books. Partly because I didn't really have access to a limited by night thing, so I just used whatever resources I could from like other sort of like like wikis and stuff to get names for some of the NPCs that were there.
I really felt that like what you said about the prose, I really felt that really stuck out. And I think that was part of the strength of what your story was. Now, it's funny because like to me, the thought of running a historical game is intimidating, somewhat. You know what I mean? Like as a storyteller myself, I guess I ran a game set in the 80s, but it was in an area that I knew and I grew up and I lived in the 80s, And then with Juarez, while that was set in the 40s, it was a very like blank canvas. You know what I mean? It wasn't like London. It wasn't with like different political themes going on. You know what I mean? Different types of immigrants, different types.
The emphasis was not on the time period itself; it was more on the characters.
Exactly. And like there's not a lot of, shit going on in the 40s in the middle of the desert, So it's like I felt that when you ran Victorian, and I think this is one of the strengths of running a historical setting was that it felt, I guess, like more of alive is the term I'm looking for. Like when you discover the themes, or when you're like talking about one certain sections of like, you know what I mean, of London or here and here and here and here. That's why I started enjoying it, to be honest with you, because I'm not going to lie. At first, while I was excited to play in a game, I was kind of indifferent to the setting. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know shit about it. I think I even made a comment like, "Oh, Whitechapel, that's where Jack the Ripper was." And you're like, dude, that's not for like 30 years. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, but I felt like you had such a knowledge to fall back on in a toolbox that I felt like I was not only playing, but I was learning. You know what I mean about the section of
And
the area.
that's another potential benefit of is that is that especially for historical games, it's just a time period. It's not an actual location, which does allow people, if they want to go into more obscure parts of history. Like for example, like during World War One, people might have heard the Battle of Ardennes or some of the bigger stuff, but they might not know about the different sections of world going on. Like, there's a world war, things going on in like countries all over the place. And so if you do a little bit of history, if you do a little bit of research into like historical stuff, you can find that there are so many things going on that just that it's so once you that so many things that people are not focused on all of it because there's just so much to look at. And so you really get to have like a unique game experience if you focus on some of the more different stuff that you haven't seen before.
That is again a very powerful insight, because I think that's why these dark era books that Chronicles of Darkness are doing are really, I personally find them appealing, because they take small aspects of history that aren't usually, I don't want to say aren't usually talked about, but aren't really well known, and they expand on them, and they bring them to light, and yeah, that's really cool. So you could take something really like hidden, I guess, in history, I guess is the term, and just kind of expand on it, not only tell a story in there, but educate it and have an original World of Darkness setting story that takes place in it that probably hasn't been told. Is that why you chose to do Diluted like 30 years, 40 years before like really the Victorian setting is known in World
Yes,
of
because
Darkness?
I noticed I have seen like bits of the Victorian Age, like the Victorian Age handbook for by White Wolf was set more than like the 1890s, which is usually when people think of the Victorian Age London. That's when they think of that's the time of when Sherlock Holmes or something like that would be set in, would be like when people have electricity, when cars are just starting to be like thought of, when coal is everywhere, when World War One is going to be happening in a few decades. And so I decided to set it further back, partly because it's to want to deal with some of the I wanted to deal with more of a like much more rougher feeling, because it was 1848, which by this time electricity is a known thing, but no one really has light bulbs in their houses. Maybe a few experimenters are here and there, but like as a general thing, most things just will still lit by gas lamps or just fire. And by this point, the phones are not a thing. The telegram is just a brand new thing that people are still trying to expand all across the world to just use for fast communication. And honestly, by this point, it's just easier to have a messenger go on and do stuff.
So in a way, like taking these aspects of history that haven't really been expanded on, like you said, White Wolf's Victorian setting was kind of like 30, 40 years further than the story you told was. Do you feel also that brings like a sense of discovery and wonder to the game? That's part of it, like where it's like people aren't, and I know I'm kind of like already saying what I've asked before, but I'm looking at almost like not only are you introducing a plot, not only are you introducing a story, but you're also like introducing a setting that is unknown, by that setting. Like you said, electricity is known, but it's not used. You know what I mean? Like a lot of this stuff is just starting to creep out. And to me, that's how I feel when I played in that game, was the fact that not only was I learning the story, not only was I learning the fellow player characters, but I was also learning this whole setting that in itself I feel was a critical part of the story in a way.
I would agree with that. Yeah, that definitely can be a very big part of it, especially if you're like the players are not familiar with that particular time period.
Yeah, and I feel that was also an awesome strength of it, definitely.
I want to kind of touch back on something that you had previously mentioned, and that is some of the preparations you've done and some of the tools you had at your disposal. You were talking about how you didn't have like the official setting book or anything to just readily flip through for Victorian London by night. And I want to ask, like, how do you specifically, how did you go about preparing for this type of undertaking? Did you go to libraries? Did you just use the wiki? Is that the only source you use? And how would you recommend other people go about that?
Fortunately, just to point you, I did not go to any libraries to go through old books or anything like that. Unfortunately,
No montage of discovery, and like no montage. You're not going to get a Joaquin montage, man. Come on, give
I'm
us a
afraid
montage.
not. If you did a montage, it would have been me at a computer.
I would recommend it then, because it's a thing that I have personally done. In that there's a local library just up the street. Go by there, look in the history section, find something appropriate to the time period, just flip through it.
Yes,
There's
definitely.
a lot of books available.
Yes, definitely. I would recommend if you feel the need to go into that thing. Yeah, definitely. There are people have been doing researching into the past years before the internet was a thing, and so books, of course, will be your friend. And also on top of that, although what I did, my main tool was the internet, and what I did was personally, since I knew I just wanted to first of all, what I looked at was what did happen in the year 1848. I basically had been like looking through the years, been like, okay, what year is going to take place exactly? And I decided 1848. Okay, I don't know what went on. Let's see what happens. So I did some research into just what happened during the year, and so I found so the stuff I found was like I could work this into this. Some of it I couldn't really. Oh yeah, that's interesting, but it's not really relevant for right now. But stuff I did find. For example, when I first started planning this, when I announced this, I had no idea that during 1848 was during the time when the Great Famine was going on in Ireland. But that eventually became a much bigger part of the diluted story. For those of you who don't know, the Great Famine was basically what happened is that in Ireland, if you wanted to make money, you were a farmer. And if you want to make money as a farmer, you grew potatoes. But then during like the years, like I believe 1845 to 1850 or something. It depends on what the different factors or whatever. Believe that's a time period though. Is that the basically a blight hit the potato crops in Ireland, and so like the vast majority of all the crops failed and died, and as a result, basically hundreds of thousands or even millions of farmers in it all across the country they had no money, and so like the economy collapsed. People couldn't buy enough food, and so basically people either people starved, people moved out of the country. It was just a huge, very huge impact on the country of Ireland as an overall
And on
thing.
other countries as well. It had a
Exactly.
huge
Yes.
impact on the United States at the time.
Yes, because as a result, that's why like I believe there are actually more people of Irish descent than people actually living in Ireland right now.
That's insane, dude. And one thing I noticed too, when you were running the game, you seem to, you kind of explained to us how you got the idea of the story. You looked at 1848, the Irish famine, which did play a huge factor, which was awesome, by the way, how you worked that in. Because I felt like I learned, like I was learning during the game. But one thing that I really respected when you ran Diluted is that you knew about like neighborhoods. You knew about what ethnic and cultural classes lived in these neighborhoods. You even knew about like surrounding towns of London. You knew a lot about the locale. Now, is that because you have always enjoyed London? Or was that like did you have to just kind of dig in and do some research on there before the story happened, or?
It was a bit of a combination. I have had a bit of a interest in London because I had visited one point and but I spent a week there when I was in high school. And so I loved the visit there. I did a little bit of research during that time there, and so I had some information already. But then when I was preparing for the game, I did even more research, and that's where a lot of that's where I was able to. I looked into old maps, especially. That's the thing I wanted to try to get accurate, which I couldn't find specifically from 1848, but I did find something from like 1850s. And it's just I find it helps a lot because especially thing you have to consider is that especially for a town like London, it has changed a lot over the decades. And so if you can find something old from roughly the same time period, say like a map or something, it can help you a lot in presenting a living world if you in your game because things can change over the decades, and so just basically knowing where things are and what the people thought of them at the time can really help immerse your players. And just because like when you have an NPC, they do not just say like, "This is the plot relevant stuff. I have nothing else to say." It helps to immerse the players if you say like if the NPCs will be like, oh yeah, remember that thing back that happened a couple of years ago, or happened over there in that street that's known for this. Oh yeah. This it helps to bring the world to life.
Yeah, I feel you there because it helps also modern day games. You know what I mean? Kind of like doing some research and stuff like that. And I just find it with historical games, like I assume it's a lot harder. You know what I mean? Because in historical games, I feel it would be very easy to go down the wrong information hole. You know what I mean? Where it's like, where are the poor people at? Oh, the west side of London. And people who are actually watching it, who are into that era, would probably, you know what I mean, just kind of check
Yeah,
out.
you don't want to get offensive and like start using stereotypes or things that are just flat out wrong about a location.
Yeah, and I felt too like you talk about your NPCs. I really felt like your NPCs were from that era, especially Holden, not to ruin but the Toreador Holden, and I really felt the whole scene where he was introduced was really impactful and powerful, especially re-listening to it when I edited the podcast, did the re-edit, like the information that you shared during then, especially about the law and dueling laws and stuff like that. Like, now, was that information that you looked up for that scene? Like, okay, I want to look up about dueling and the laws. And did you like
I think it was
write
more
that
like
down?
I heard that little step of information that was like that inspires me, and I'll do the scene because of that information inspired me to do the scene.
So how long did you do research before you decided you wanted to run Dilute? How long should a potential storyteller for a historical setting? I mean, of course, the shoe's not going to fit for everyone, but like how
Yeah,
long did you?
that's a rough question to ask. Well, I feel like I feel like it's not really so much as how much time you have to invest, it's how much you can get out of the research. And so for me, what I felt was that once I had enough research, so I could say, okay, so once enough research to solidly say, okay, this is the area here, this is where it's going to happen here, and this is going to happen here. Like once you have enough like solid foundation, because ultimately it's as much you do as much research as you can, but ultimately it's on you, the storyteller, to actually put it all together and make a story out of it.
Yeah, I feel you definitely. You know what's funny is there are some historical games that I have planned originally for the little peek behind the curtain for those of you who don't know. Originally, my plan was once Twin Cities by Night was completed and wrapped up, I was going to run this Elder game where you're going to start in Babylonian times and just kind of work your way through the future. Okay, kind of like put that in the back burner, you know. And I decided that I want to run a Mage Chronicle, Mage 20th Anniversary Edition Chronicle, after Twin Cities by Night is done, in which will be like in 5 fucking years, you know what I mean? But like my point, and this leads to my question, what I'm saying. So when I kind of know that I'm gonna run this mage game during the 60s and the 70s, you know, and so I've been buying like a lot of books on the 60s and the 70s, and recently I reorganized my library, and I'm like, fuck, man, I spent a lot of money on goddamn books, dude, and I have only read one of these like books on like this time period. I need to start reading these. And that leads to my question, because I feel like with me thinking about historical games and settings that I'm not personally familiar with that are really deep in history, like the 60s and 70s in the United States, a lot of shit happened, you know what I mean? It was a really kind of like boiling point in our country. I felt like I was getting worried, like I wouldn't know enough. You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting there worried. I got to buy more books. I got more books. I got to make sure in like these 5 years before I run the game, I got to read it, and find out. And I was just like worrying myself. So that leads to kind of like what my question here is: what are some things that potential storytellers should not worry about when it comes to running historical games? Because it can kind of seem it's kind of intimidating for some, including me, to think about that.
And so the first thing I would say, definitely the biggest thing is do not worry so much about is do not worry about getting every little minute detail historically accurate. Especially say if you're just running, of course, depending upon if you want to run like a very minutely historically accurate game, good on you. Do that. Make sure just have fun with that. That's all on you. But I feel like for most players, it's always like a spectrum of people. Some people be like, yeah, you're George Washington fighting velociraptors in England or whatever. Other people will be like, no, you're this is the time date and this is what happens. They have like a strict schedule to follow out. And so what I find is that for most people, I say this: you don't have to worry about every little detail. It's okay to just be like, okay, we're not gonna be 100% totally accurate, so just make sure you get a lot of the broad strokes, maybe a few of the smaller strokes, but don't like worry about all the pieces.
So focus on the story first.
Yes.
Good advice. I think that the setting itself is just a backdrop, and while it can be a character in its own right, you're absolutely right. You do need to be able to just kind of occasionally say, "Fuck it, that doesn't happen in my version of history."
Yes. And another thing I would say not to worry about is that you don't have to get it, this exact, time. If say like you've been doing a lot of historical games, you don't have to worry about, okay, so what major historical thing am I going to do next? You can always, I find is you can always try to do something a bit interesting. Is that you could try to have a game set a few years before and a few years after something happened. Say for example, let's say a couple years after World War II. Just there is no specific event tied to say let's say France 1947. There is no specific, at least I'm not a big I'm not familiar about post-war France, so if any historians there, please, I apologize, but there are no major specific events tied to that time period that I'm aware of. And so as a result, you don't have to worry about
Massive labor strikes. Just Googled it.
okay, thank you Google. And so
Damn you, Google.
And so instead, you can focus on more of the atmosphere of that the time period brings with you, rather than any specific event. So, for example, say like a era of mistrust, of rebuilding, of just having to social wreckage and build something out of it. So, for a vampire game, say you would say like all the surviving vampires have been like, okay, so we just got the city bombed the hell out of us, and now we have to decide, okay, so how are we going to restructure this place again to be back to what it was before? And while making sure that all these paranoid people don't pick up the fact that we're vampires.
I like that because in almost in a way the big historical event that happened in the past a couple years ago is a character in its own right. You know what I mean? Kind of like in wars, how World War II was off in the distance, but it was never really addressed in the game. Like, but it affected the small town of Cedar Creek. I like that. Like, it's just kind of like there. You know what I mean? But it's not the center of like the story of what's going on. I like that.
Exactly.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I suppose that you don't have to run a game about the Battle of the Bulge. You can just run a game about the people in the civilians living in the area while that was going on.
Oh, that's so dope. That's so dope. I would totally play in a game like that. One thing I liked that you did with Victorian also, and I feel that you didn't worry about too much, and in the end it comforted me, was the fact that you had this weird ability when you played your NPCs to where they came across very British, but you didn't use like British accents. You know what I mean? It was
Yes.
like the cadence of your voice and the way that you spoke and your mannerisms. You know, we're not voice actors in Twin Sleep, but Mitch and maybe Cora, maybe fuck everyone else but me is a fucking voice actor, but I'm not. But you know what I'm saying? Like you made it feel very accurate. And I feel that's like one thing that people shouldn't stress about is making sure that you sound like a 19th century British street
Yes.
urchin, you know?
You don't, like I said, and that's the thing is where research can help you, is that you don't have to get the accent down right. If you can't do accents, feel free to not. If you want to, go ahead. But where doing some research can help you is that just watch a movie or just do something that was made in England at the time, or something or something that will give you an idea of what to sound like. You might not might not be able to make it sound right, but you can get some of the vocabulary right. So, for example, you would say like you know in England, like the Cockney accent is traditionally associated with the poor people, so more the lower class. Now, as an American, odds are you might not have known that. But if you just like do a little bit of research, like watch a few things, just figure out what the general opinion of like towards towards that thing, then you can sort of like, okay, so I can do this instead I can't do the voice, I can just do it to have people react to it.
On the subject of characterizations, and kind of tying into something you mentioned before about using like official characters. What was some of the things that you found to be like challenging when it came to portraying the characters in a historical setting, and portraying them in a way that you felt was respectful while also, you know, playing into the strengths that they have in the story?
Okay, so I feel that definitely one of the bigger issues with that is with doing a historical character like that is that you have to sort of, how do I put this? Because it's definitely one thing to just try to it's one thing to try to be doing a like over the top stylized thing of what you think someone from that time would talk like. But I find it's, for me, like one of the big things I found is just treat them just like a person. Just have them talk like a person would. It might be a different time period, but ultimately people are going to be the same no matter what time period you're in. They might have different concerns, different beliefs, different values, but ultimately it's going to be a person. And so when you do have like say like have a person believe that, for example, we go back to Holden. He believes that there is a much more strict hierarchy to how society works, rather than just have the guy go up saying, "You're lower than me. Believe that's how it is because I say it is." You could just have it be much more. Just be like, "Okay, yes. Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't believe someone of your class would know that." Just having it be
You're giving me flashbacks, fucker.
just have try to have it be a bit more like I suppose just have it be a bit more not so much expositionary, but as just be like part of the conversation, just be have part of their character, I suppose I'm trying to say.
You're very awesome at that too in the game. There's a distinct scene. I remember in my fucking head where I was like, you knocked it out of the park with that. It was when the Quartery was on a train heading north, and there, for those of you who don't know, Slavic played Middle Eastern or Egyptian Sedai, excuse me, and he was on the train with us, and there was this couple, a wife and her husband, who were heading to a hunting trip, and just the way that you handled the wife and the husband, but especially the wife, and I'm not saying I'm not saying like, I'm trying to think of a way to articulate this. The casual racism that she had towards him for being Egyptian, like oh, you're from Egypt, like her, the whole Egyptian fever that was going on at that time. But it was just like very like, I was like, damn, dude, like it wasn't like over the top, but it was very like grounded and nuanced the way that you handled, especially the husband, because he wasn't like that at all. He was just very stoic and had a drink, you know what I mean, and was suspicious, and you know what I'm saying. And I just really felt like the way you handle that, I'm like, man, this feels like a masquerade game in a way, like a modern day game how you handle, but it feels very authentic to the historical setting, and I was really blown away by that.
Yes, and I feel like we do have to get into like some of like that issue of racism. Is that if you look throughout historically, people didn't like people from other countries or different skin colors. They just didn't. And so I find that when you do deal with stuff like that, I feel like first of all, if you feel like if you want to like have that be a major focus of the game, talk to your players about that. Just be like, okay, so everyone's cool with this. You just know I'm not trying to be racist to anyone. I'm not trying to do this to get out my frustrations. I'm trying to add some flavor. I'm trying to add some experience, flavor, heighten the experience of this game.
Well, the way you did it too, it wasn't like it was a small scene in the game too. You know what I mean? But you showed just like the not only did you show the class system in that scene, but like we can even go to a whole different spectrum where you showed the frustration with the famine that was going on in Ireland with some NPCs. You know what I mean? And how they felt about that and how passionate they got. I just felt that like, and that's why I said earlier that the lack of accents, you know what I mean, over the top accents was, or even accents period, wasn't even fucking noticed. And I still felt we were playing in a very English, British game. I'm fucking it up. I don't know if I should call it British or English, but a very like game set in that setting. And I think it's very kudos to you. And I think it could be done. It really definitely like, as a storyteller, and I'm not going to lie, Joaquin, seeing what you did in that story like motivated me to like want to up my game as a storyteller, like seeing how well you did there and everything like that. Because I was like, oh shit, dude. And for those of you who don't know who listened to Diluted, that was his first time storytelling, man. And I really felt like you have found your niche in the way to storytell. I'm sure there's gonna be tons of other games you're gonna storytell, but I really felt that you did a good job in there, man. I know I had a blast in it, and I know Andrew did, because Andrew fucking loved that game. You know what I mean? So
thank you.
We're going to go ahead and jump into our second break. Where we come back, we'll be talking about things coming up on the channel and a couple things that have been on my mind. If you want to hear it, stay tuned.
High Level Games, the industry's first choice in taking your games to the next level. We are a podcast blog and new media network at highlevelgames.ca. We have blog posts about all of your favorite games going up 5 days a week, and a podcasting network with actual plays and shows that discuss role-playing games, with more rolling out all the time. We are on iTunes, Twitch, and YouTube. Find out more information at highlevelgames.ca, a site that certainly isn't controlled by a shadowy board of directors of otherworldly origin. That's highlevelgames.ca.
Please, help. They're coming.
All right, welcome back. So before I get into like stuff that we have going on, I want to thank Andrew here. And in all seriousness, this is something that is kind of a somewhat serious topic, but I feel like I want to bring it up, and I feel that I need to get it off my chest. So, and no, there's no cold brew punchline joke coming here, guys. So don't get excited. Not that people do. So, you've heard us mention before, if you follow us on social media, if you talk to us on Discord or anything like that, that you probably have heard us say that, and we've told people, part of companies before, both Andrew and I, on the side, that like we're not looking to get sponsored by any major company. Now, it's not because we don't like the companies. We love the World of Darkness setting. We love the people who make games for it. We love all that shit, obviously, or I want to be fucking spending every weekend doing podcasts about it. But the reason why we don't is because we feel like we don't want to feel, I don't know what the word I'm thinking of is, like that we cannot express if we have issues with stuff or whatever. Obligated. Yeah. Now, like I said, I'm not about to go off on a tangent about these companies. Nothing they've done has upset me or anything like that, but I just don't want to feel obligated to have certain opinions or not be able to speak how I feel. And if anyone has been following our Twitter or follows our Twitter or anything, they probably saw a post that I made yesterday. And there is a frustration that I feel sometimes boils up in me when it comes to the whole content creator scene. in World of Darkness setting, but also in like just the tabletop RPG scene. And I found for a long time I was just like holding it in, like things that bothered me. Like I was just like really just holding it in. It was boiling over. And there came a point, I don't know what came over me yesterday, but where I kind of told the gang, like, dude, I don't even know if I want to do the podcast shit anymore. Like, I just like this fucking shit just like makes me, some of the stuff I see just makes me feel so dirty. And this is stuff that like has happened behind like social media that we have dealt with as a gang a couple instances. I'm like, I just don't fucking feel it anymore. And Andrew was there for me. And again, Andrew's been there for me for a lot whenever things bother me or whenever I rant. The gang has been, especially, but Andrew has this odd counterbalance to my, as he calls it, passion.
When
you know what I mean?
Not hating me for calling you out.
me and Andrew have had passionate conversations about things, but he's always been a calming voice though when like things have been really getting under me. And well, there's a point to this, is that folks, you have to understand when, if you're paying attention to the whole, especially the actual play scene, there's some just stuff that happens and that really bothers me at times. I'm not naming names. I'm not doing this to shit talk anyone. I'm not doing this to shit talk any type of style of actual play. I'm just doing this because I want to fucking get it out there into the ether, because I'm tired of having this shit upset me and almost ruin the shit that I enjoy the most. We have had behind the scenes, for example, a major fucking actual play, tabletop actual play, come to us and ask us when all the V5 hype was just starting to form before V5 came out and was released, if we would play in a V5 actual play on their channel, because they didn't know shit about fucking V5. And these assholes had the audacity to be like, can you send us like wanted us to come and help get them money, but then wanted us to send fucking audition tapes. And we wouldn't have done it even if they said audition tapes. But there's tons of shit that happens like this behind the scenes that you would open your eyes. And all I got to say, and my whole point is saying this, and this is more of a call out to people who are in the content creation scene and whatever. I get it. I 100% get it. A lot of people want to get paid for what they like to do. And there is nothing wrong with that. I absolutely have zero wrong if people are doing actual plays or creating content because they want to make a profit. I get that. That's just how it is. And that's cool. What I do not condone and what I do not like is when people are, for lack of a better term, fake and insincere with the shit they do to get that. And that's where I start having issues, you know? And that's where I feel you might see me make some tweets just jokingly around about some shit. But I feel that when you have a base of people who are looking for people to play a game and expect some form of sincerity, and you're fronting on that, and you're not that you're taking advantage of people. Now, if you want to say, hey, we're just running a game on Twitch and we're dressing up because we want you to feel like you're part, you know, we want you to feel like it's a TV show, and that's fine. Fucking A, do it 100%. But don't be fucking fake and expect me to fucking as a content creator to think that you're being sincere and that you're just playing these games for fun and whatever. Be honest, be how it is. And that's what we try to do with Twin Cities by Night. And while I'm sitting here and I'm venting my grievances, we are also, though, with the gang trying to help out these very same content creators who may be doing that, and others with like the White Wolf RPG gameplay media page, or we're constantly on our Twitter retweeting other content to help rise people up. So we're not shitting on people. We're not even calling people out or even judging people. I'm just saying this shit fucking bothers me. And if it bothers you hearing it, I apologize. But I feel that there's not a voice that's saying that. And I think some just need to do some inner reflection and look at why they're doing this and how they're doing it. And I think this whole scene would be a better place. And this kind of ties into about where I'm going next with this. And the two gentlemen here with me right now, and the other 5 members of the gang, we did a lot of deliberation about whether or not we should start a Patreon. It was a talk that we had before, and we decided not to. And it's a talk that we had again, and we decided not to. And then it was a talk that we had again, and then we decided to. And the reason that we decided to wasn't for the fact that we don't want to monetize. We don't want to hide ourselves behind a paywall, and we don't want to make a profit, but we want to better our product. We want to be able to do the best that we can, and sometimes, you know, we've maxed that out with what we have, and so we started a Patreon, and none of our stuff is behind a paywall now, any of that stuff. And I'm not really here to push the Patreon. You can see the link in all of our shit, but I'm here to thank the people though who have stepped up and who have given. And again, if people don't want to give, that's fine, and there's no worry to that. But I want to thank the people who have, especially. So I'm going to read some names here. Some of these names are people that.
before
Yeah,
you,
go
I
ahead.
want to clarify something. The whole point that we even delved into Patreon to begin with was just to cover some of the costs of having to, you know, pay to have like our stuff put out on like SoundCloud and things like that. It's not because, Chris has been taking all this up on himself, and we as a group felt like, we can do something a little bit more, and we can continue to grow, and we can get, maybe one day we'll be able to get better equipment for everybody, and we can have just a better sounding product. It's not because we want money, because this is not something that we don't ever we have careers, we have lives. This is something we do for fun, and if you guys want to help us continue to have fun and bring you this product, go ahead.
No obligation on your part.
Yeah, we'll always do it.
And that's why Andrew's more articulate than I. You know what I mean? That's why he's on this show too. But very, very much so. Just how he said it. You know what I mean? You're not going to live a big baller status, dude, doing actual plays. We all have careers. We all have jobs and all that stuff. And like you said, he summed it up perfectly. Definitely summed it up perfectly. And that is why we are doing it. So let's go ahead and thank some motherfuckers, some bold crew. I don't know. These guys are like, have some of their own armies behind them, dude. Some of these folks who helped chip in. So first on the list is 25 years of Vampire the Masquerade. Do I even need to say who these motherfuckers are? If you have not listened to the podcast and you're listening here, which I don't think there's one single person. If you are a person right now listening to the Brian Diaries and you have not listened to 25 years of Vampire the Masquerade, shoot me a tweet at twin_cities_VTM and I'll retweet it and say I'm eating a humble pie. But I severely doubt that there's someone listening to this who has not heard 25 years of Vampire the Masquerade. Matter of fact, go ahead.
Keep in mind, one of them will be a guest here soon on a Brian Dyers episode. So
yeah, and that's one we've been trying to get. Like, my immune system fucking kicked me in the nuts, dude, the first time we tried doing it, and then the poor guy due to work conflicts and all that stuff. But we've been trying to get Nate on here to talk about running a VTM game or just a World of Darkness game on Discord, because they have a fucking epic one on their Discord. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. If you haven't listened to the podcast, again, listen to it. But I'm sure you all have. So thank you, Nate. You rock. Thank you, seriously, from the bottom of my heart. And then the mighty esoteric order of fucking role players, dude, have chipped in on the Patreon. If you didn't listen to the episode where they were on the Brian Dyers talking about duet gaming, if you have not checked out Neon Masquerade or any of their shit, dude, like, there are people on the Twin Cities.
You're genuinely missing out, because they have some amazing character developments in their stories.
Dude, don't they ever? I mean, there's folks, and I know it, they'll never probably say it, or probably they have, who are part of the Bold Crew Twin Cities by Night gang, who love the fucking EOR, Esoteric Order role players stuff better than our stuff. And I don't blame them, dude. I fucking listen to Neon Masquerade, man. It sounds like a podcast, like on MP, just like the chemistry that him and his wife have, dude. It's just so fucking amazing. And David has fucking been awesome to us and has always been like supportive, and it's fucking rad. Thank you guys, you rock. Then we have Mark from Dungeon Punks with the X, the real Dungeon Punks, the not the rip off with the K at the end, who tried to jog on their name. From across the pond, this is the gentleman has been consuming our shit. Matter of fact, he just started Diluted. He's watched all the Twin Cities by Nights and Ultimate Evil and Wars on Fire. Now he's starting on Diluted. This is the guy who told me that he was driving home and the fucking Sweat Lodge scene in the Ultimate Evil was a fucking gut punch to him, or how the final Valdery and fucking Wars on Fire on the beach was just like fucking amazing. This guy. Yeah, dude, this guy has some fucking impactful fucking feedback that gives us, and he has an awesome fucking podcast, Dungeon Punks. You can check it out, man. It's dude's
quite relevant then that we're giving this shout out here in this episode when he's starting Diluted.
I know, dude.
Hey, he can point out all the things I got wrong.
Yeah, there you go. Right, he's a super fucking awesome dude. Super awesome dude. Matter of fact, I met the guy because he sent me a PM. He heard me on Brendan Carrion's Full Metal RPG. Shout out to Full Metal RPG, and he fucking hit me up on Instagram, and he was like, "Dude, I just gave you a shout out on our podcast at this mark," and I listened. He was talking about the Ultimate Evil, and I was like, "Oh fuck, dude, this guy's super fucking nice." And that is how the scene should be. Not that you have to fucking send us PMs giving us kudos. I'm just talking about like being positive, man. Just like fucking being real. You know what I mean? Being positive and just like Oh, that's the shit that I love, and that's why I'm happy that we continue to do this. And then we have Chad Registrar. If you got Chad has been there since fucking Joaquin and I have been there. This dude was listening to fucking Twin Cities by Night back when we spent a half hour like, why is Dice Stream not working? You know, and talking
Oh, the bad old days.
yeah, where we're like talking over each other all at once. It was like, you know how many times I had to edit where it just was like because everyone's trying to talk at once. But he's been there since day one, and that was fucking awesome. And thank you, Chad. He's been nothing but fucking supportive to us, and has always like left comments on our videos, and it's just really awesome to. I mean, it blows my mind that people listen to that shit because, man, I listen to our old shit, dude, and I'm just like, fuck, I want to throw my computer through the wall, man. I just can't believe. But we were learning, and it was a fun time to learn. And then finally, we had Dante, who is Brazilian, my friend, Sepultura, and he listens to Black Sabbath a lot, dude. And he's always posting Black Sabbath pictures. And whenever I post Black Sabbath pictures on Twitter, because we're totally fucking dark, listening to Black Sabbath and drinking cold brew. And thank you, man, for checking us out. And it's just fucking awesome, man, to know that like these folks, man, find us worthy to part with their hard-earned money, and that's fucking awesome, dude. And it's really fucking humbling. And yeah, I just don't know what to fucking say, but thank you guys, seriously. You rock. And yeah, man, keep on rocking, dude. Definitely. So then let's talk about what we have coming up. We have, and I'm gonna pause again. Seriously, that shit fucking rocks. I'm like sitting here like at a loss of words, man, just because like it was a huge move for us to do this, folks. And I'm not like trying to like drag this on and beat a dead horse, but it took a lot of fucking talks and a lot of decisions. And frankly, once we started our Patreon, it just kind of wiped me out, man, just because it was so much emotion and thought, and like me having to like juggle with my own opinions or whatever, and just it's fucking cool that we have awesome people like that.
Let me kick off the upcoming projects thing, because not just projects. I want to kick off with, we have something huge that is coming to an end today. We are adding another person to TCBN. We have our submissions. Well, there's still time for another one to come in, but it's unlikely. Looks like that there's probably all the ones we were going to get have come in. And it's a huge undertaking to add another person to our, at this point, it's a huge undertaking to add another person to our story and to our chronicles, and just our group of friends, somebody who can just constantly, just be a part of all of this. So I just wanted to take the time to say thank you to everyone who applied, because the fact that you're even interested in just hanging out with us, that's really cool, and I appreciate the sincerity that went into a lot of the submissions. That you guys have not, like I've said this several times on our Discord channel, you guys have not made this easy for us. It is going to be a hard decision that we are going to debate about for a little while. So don't expect anything right away, because we have several people in mind, and it's going to be hard picking one out of there.
Dude, is it ever, man? Seriously, bro. Like, oh god, it's gonna be a lot of long talks, man. Fucking
yeah. And to think there was a point in time when it was easy, and then all the good stuff just called right in.
I know. But I'm glad we went this route, of the way that we did it. I'm glad that you kind of went along with the idea that I had and how we presented this, and put it forth to our community, and got people to get on our Discord and just, chat with us and everything, to get to know everyone and talk to them and be able to interact with people on a more personal level, to get to really feel everyone out. So again, thank you everybody who is interested. I can honestly say that I don't think there's a single submission that I was like, no, I don't like this person at all, because there's a lot of unique perspectives in the different submissions that we have seen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this is like adding to the family, man. This is more than just even the demon game that Mitch is going to be running. This is like you're a 1/9 stake in Twin Cities by Night now. Like it's like 1/9 of a cold brew, but still, it's a 1/9 stake into the decision making, and because I don't know if people know behind the scenes of what we do. Everything's like a fucking democracy with us. We're always voting, you know what I mean? And we decide and we talk. It's like the Justice League minus a horrible movie, and we just sit there and we fucking make decisions together at a super round table, man. That is just the internet, But yeah, it's gonna be a hard decision. Like, I think it's going to take at least a week to fucking even decide who, if not longer. You know what I mean? Like, how we're going to have a
It
lot of
might take
debates.
me that long just to go through them all once again and
Dude.
just like provide any sort of like
Yeah.
context to who I think is best fit to us, because it's not about like if you're good enough or anything like that. It's like who's going to fit into what we have going on now, because by no means is it about like, you know, being the best role player ever or whatever. It's nothing like that. It's just that we want somebody who is going to be able to just fit into and gel with our group at the best. And there's a couple of people who strongly fit that.
Yep. So keep your eyes and ears and open for that. And we haven't quite figured out how we're gonna announce it, but we're gonna have something fucking rad, because when we put our brains together, we fucking are like the Justice League without the horrible movie. And then we can go ahead and rock that out. So we're like the Avengers, I guess, because I like that theme song. I always get goosebumps whenever I hear the Avengers theme song.
Well, if you saw Infinity War, they didn't play it.
Yeah. Well,
That was the one movie they didn't play their theme song.
this is the World of Darkness podcast, but why did you have to take it that dark, bro? God
Dude.
damn, man.
I'm
don't
still,
feel
I'm
so good.
still in therapy.
I know, man. But anyways, like let's not Peter. No, okay. So Mr. Stark. So let's go ahead and continue on with what we have going on. So on the 7th of October, folks, we got Twin Cities by Night Dread coming up. And man. This is gonna be an interesting fucking session for me to run. I got a feeling there's gonna be a lot of mobile pieces going on. If you have not watched the duet session I had, or listened to the duet session I had with Slavic between William and Hardy Ellsworth, check that out. But this next session is going to be crazy, because you got to think about this, folks who have been listening to Twin Cities by Night. And I don't know how many fucking sessions we've had all together, all three arcs, but a lot of people who don't get a lot of airtime in that game have a lot of fucking sway over the story. And it was not intentional when I fucking first started this, but it's really kind of crazy how it just kind of came up. And one of those people is Little, this guy no one has fucking seen. Not that he's some mysterious ninja. He might be a ninja with dual wielded katanas. I don't want to say that. You might find out. But I'm just saying, like, it's like the real world, man. People have influence that you will never fucking meet and have influence over your life, dude. And I'm not talking about a shadowy masquerade jihad type thing. I'm just saying, that's just how the cookie crumbles. So the plot's been slowly getting peeled back on that, and I'm fucking excited for it. I feel that this is by far my favorite like the Twin Cities by Night trilogy so far, I guess, like story arc for Twin Cities by Night I've ran. I feel like that having like kind of everyone to have their separate stories in a way is like giving me more opportunity to tell the story. I feel like people have been playing their characters fucking awesomely, dude. I feel like just like the horror is coming out in the setting again, and I feel like the sense of anticipation and just like fucking like I'm nervous about running this next session. Period.
I'm
Blank.
just wondering how you're gonna like reconcile the like split between the characters, because we have several going off and potentially participating all together in like sort of same kind of scene, and then you have like one guy who's standing by a car and another who's across the city. Like,
yeah, it's good. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
I got it. I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, you can't really spoil. I mean, I have my ideas of how I think the story is going to go. You know what I mean? It all depends on players' action. But I am really picturing, a little spoiler for those of you who have watched True Detective Season 1, the scene where Matthew McConaughey goes into the projects as an undercover fucking biker dude. Yeah, it might be intense. And I'm really hoping it is that, because I'm really.
I've never watched it, but I can tell you right now, some of us are hungry. And
oh yeah, it's like a powder keg. The projects, those projects, the Echo Park projects, or the Echo projects, excuse me, are like a powder keg right now. And I'm not even talking about story wise. I'm just talking about some hungry people, a pissed off fucking Tremere. You know what I mean? A gangrel sitting out there, and now you got William, and who knows how William's going to react. You know what I mean to all this shit, and it very well could be. Because I'm not even like any supernatural bent, but just because you're going to be in an area where there's at least a couple hundred of people, you know what I mean? Who
got a Nosferatu who's like just as likely to frenzy as your friendly neighborhood Bruja.
Yeah, and then you got a fucking hungry little midget Nosferatu kid. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be fun. So check it out. definitely, I'm having a blast with that. And this story keeps going, man. This is a story that keeps giving. I'm happy. I don't give a fuck if this fucking story goes 20 sessions, man. The story arc. I'm just having a
I'll be
blast running it.
surprised if by the end of Dread I haven't, if I have maintained Humanity 5. Just throwing it out there.
Dude, it's fucking, who knows? It's part of the sense of dread. Dun-dun-dun. All right, so
What about you, Quinn? What are your thoughts on this upcoming session?
It'll definitely be. I definitely really want to see what happens, and just because it feels like definitely it's like a mini culmination of all the different things, like slowly building up to something. And so now we're finally it's like it's been leading up to this moment. Like we're finally gonna get some answers out of this. I'm like, aha, yes, at last we got it.
Yeah,
One
I mean, you've been waiting a lot longer than me. Like, I was listening, but I wasn't a player. You've been directly involved in this from the start, and like you've been waiting for answers and had a vested interest in them for a whole long time.
Yeah, and like honestly, this is just meeting one NPC. Think about that, dude. You know what I mean? Like this isn't like, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be crazy. One thing I hear from a lot of people who've been listening since day one is like the evolution of Cacao. People are liking the evolution of Cacao, seeing how Cacao kind of went from like just wanting to be left alone to like now he realizes he's becoming like the political apex predator. You know what I mean? And he's sitting there like starting to manipulate things and becoming the monster that he didn't like. And Jonathan, and in a way, it's weird how Jonathan left his mark on Cacao, you know, in his own fucking way.
Yeah, that's what happens when you just feel like, okay, enough, I'm done. I'm doing something different now.
Look,
Yeah.
Gangrel who get involved in politics are way worse than any Ventru or Toreador you will ever meet, because when they get involved, they take that whole predator thing to the extreme. They are the ones on top.
Yep, definitely.
Woo! Represent.
Yeah, represent. On that note, then on the 14th, we got Changeling and the Lost Vanity, which, man, that game is really starting to get its horror legs going right now. If you guys have not listened
You
to
are so screwed.
dude, I'm fucking screwed. Or what about fucking, no spoilers, but what about Katrina, dude? Isn't that not some epic shit? Like isn't that like, I think it's very very just not ironic, but I think it's awesome how like the two people who kind of had like a close bond now are in a fucking shitty situation, or going to be maybe in a shitty situation together, and then the two people who have like the strength and the passion to like fix things on the normal side are going to be together on there. You know what I mean? How just like the roads kind of diverged a little bit there. I'm really excited to see how that's going. And I do think Raymond's screwed, but I think it's in a way, I think that it might be a nice full circle for Raymond's story. I'm hoping. I have some ideas. I want to see where Adam takes the story, but I really feel the horror element of the story is starting to like, you know what I mean? Like Adam had a really nice pace with that. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like right away, but like you're really starting to see like sacrifice, like and stuff like that that's starting to happen. So I love that game. I fucking want to play it now. Matter of fact, talking about it, you know what I mean? But it's great. It's a fucking great game. And again, Adam, just like Quinn, is a first-time storyteller, man, and he's running a storyteller for the channel, and it's just like really awesome to take these smaller settings and just to run stories with them. And it's actually like we got stories planned, folks. Like you know what I mean? Like we're not. I don't foresee it's going to be like, fuck, we don't got no more games to run. You know what I mean? Because we're already talking about like shit upon shit upon shit upon shit. Like, and the seeds are starting to get planted. You know what I mean? For future games. So it's really great. I'm super excited about that. Check that shit out. And then on the 21st, we got the amazing story of a group of hunters called the Hunters Hunted 2 Corruption, which Andrew runs. Man, dude, I had fun last session, Andrew. You're killing it, bro.
Good. I'm glad you are. I didn't want to like spoil anything for anybody, but I just got to say that Adam, he figured out really fast who T was, and I am so shocked and also kind of proud that I was able to faithfully portray this character to the point that he figured it out without even giving any hints to anyone about it.
I like, and I'm not going to spoil anything, you know what I mean? I like that you did not handle T, I'm not going to say who it is, as cheesy as T has been handled in the past in some publications. And that's why it didn't stick out. And that's a compliment to you. But now then, retrospect, when I was listening to the re-edit, when I was editing it,
It
I was
made all
listening to
perfect
it.
sense.
It made sense, but it was good though, dude. It was like, okay, this is good because the way that character has been handled in the past. And yes, this is a knock on circa 2000 White Wolf. Apologize if no one likes hearing that, but I did not like how a lot of the major canon characters were handled. And
I'm not going to be shy about this. There are multiple canon characters in this game, and
fuck me. Yeah. Well, then that's cool then because you handle it like how we like to handle the World of Darkness, dude. Because I did not come across canony. Is that a word? Canony at all, dude. Not at all. Like at all. And I actually thought that Mitch was being like sarcastic by calling T that name. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh wait, he's for real, dude. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh shit, this is rad. Like I love it. And then what you got to tell us at the end who all the canon characters are, man. Because
Sure.
I don't want to crack open DC by night, and I haven't even read the DC part of Becca Jihad Diary because I don't want to ruin anything.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. So.
It'll be obvious if you read it. Like it's at least I think so because I've tried to play into some of the themes from Beckett's Jihad Diary and DC by Night. So if anyone who's read those books or hasn't but has them available, like check them out. If you're listening to Corruption, maybe you'll pick it up. Maybe it'll enhance your experience just to hear these hunters floundering around.
Definitely. And then after that, we might do a couple Brian book clubs. I think this month I may be wrapping up my reread of Stephen King's Salem's Lot or of Homicide: Life or Year on the Killing Streets, which are two books I like to cover. Maybe Ray Bradbury's Something This Wicked This Way Comes, which are three books that are awesome sources of inspiration for World of Darkness.
Next month.
That's Slavic's thing. That's well, I mean, might as well fucking say it since the cat's out of the bag. We're gonna be recording our super special next April Fool's thing. We record those way early when we have an opening in the schedule because we just want to knock that out. And I don't want to say anything. That's top secret. That's like our Black Mass shit. God damn it.
I apologize.
Now I regret inviting you on.
Give me
back your black robe. Give me back your fucking lifetime guarantee Starbucks cold brew card, and you're on probation.
Can I keep the car?
Okay, you can keep the car. You can keep the. I mean, being an evil government Satanist, dude, does have its perks, dude. So, on that note, I got world domination to play with my friends. If you guys would like to reach out to us, all the ways you can find us are in our description. You can find us on Twitter at twin_cities_VTM. You can find our Discord. You can find all that jazz. We're on everything now, folks. We are Twin Cities by Night.
We're even on the moon.
On the moon. Leave me alone. I want to talk to my friends. Peace out.
The Los Angeles metropolitan area is constantly growing and changing. The Central District is full of new buildings. The Hollywood and Wilshire districts, once far from downtown, now are part of it which spreads past Beverly Hills and out to the ocean. But why is all this going on in Los Angeles? Why is Los Angeles an exploding city?
Neon Masquerade.
The Demon's Mirror.
13 Candles.
3 Chronicles running through the undead veins of the City of Angels.
The Esoteric Order of Roleplayers Actual Play podcast invites you to drink deeply.
Go to eorpodcast.com and search the duets tag to find out more.